Oh, okay, so I know, I always like it close to her, but okay, let's see.
Tell me when I can go.
I think we're on, but Faye, are you there? Can you hear us? There he
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
How are ya?
The camera's there.
It's very confusing. Yeah.
I can
What do you
see
think?
myself on the screen.
Be careful.
Okay.
Okay, I guess, yeah, let's get underway. Jamie is on her
On
way?
her way,
On her
yes.
way, okay.
Judy, oh, you know what? Sorry.
Nope.
I can get my phone.
Okay.
Texting me.
One moment. Faye, we'll open this and then we'll do a little round of welcome introductions, okay? Perfect. How's Montreal? What's the weather like?
It's good. It's pretty warm these days.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's a nice fall, I think, across the country, if I'm not mistaken, almost.
Yes, yes. It's lovely.
Yeah, we're also getting some good weather here. It was, what, 19 and a half degrees when I was coming up? Just for this? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's stuck inside.
Oh,
It's
no.
beautiful out there. Yeah. It's by the time.
That's okay. We're good? Awesome. Okay, we'll open the meeting up, 4:14. Oh, perfect timing. Sorry about being a little late here, Faye. We had some confusion about where we were at, and meeting and stuff like that. So, thanks for holding tight in the wings there. So we'll just get right underway with a welcome and a hello. On behalf of the Bowen Island Public Art Advisory Committee, I'd like to welcome you to this meeting. The official bring you on board kind of steps will happen later. So for now, you're actually just acting as a member of the public. Just thought I need to say that. And then I'm going to quickly, we'll do a round here. Well, actually, you know what? Maybe what I'll do, yeah, let's do a round of, we'll do a round of introductions here. Hopefully by that time, Jamie, we've got one other committee member coming very shortly. So maybe by the time we get through us, she will be here and then you can have a couple of minutes to introduce yourself. So I'm Scott, Chair of the Public Art Committee. I know we've chatted, so I wanted to thank you in advance for being interested and agreeing to come on board with this. Let me see how I can do this. I'm gonna go over here. Look, this is Steph Short. She's our, what's the title?
Committee coordinator.
Committee coordinator. She handles all the fine details, make sure we've got all of our stuff in order. To my right is Jillian Drake, counselor, yes? No, sorry, not counselor.
Manager of Recreation and Community Services.
There we go, thank you. And we have two community members. We have Phil over this way, Phil Dion. He's does many things. Preparator at the Contemporary Art Gallery, has worked with the BAG and currently is doing his own thing here and there on the island. And then we have also on my left, Marilyn Machado, Bowen Island Realty. I assume you probably have heard of Marilyn.
We've met, actually.
We've met? Okay, you've met. All right, good. And we are just waiting on Jamie Schaefer, who is the director of the Hearth Gallery down at the Cove Commons. So she'll join us momentarily, I'm sure. But in the meantime, why don't I pass it over to you and you can just do a quick hello for us.
Hi, everyone. So happy to see everyone here and hello from Montreal and just introduce myself a bit. When Scott talked to me about the committee and I was very intrigued and interested, and I serve on the board of the Hearth. So there needs to be a member of the Hearth to also join this committee. So I volunteered to join this committee, and I was a professor at Quest, and that was my main job after I did my graduate school, and now I am away for raising children. I have two young kids. One is almost 3 and one is almost 2. And so life is very busy with the children. And also doing lots of reading and writing with my own projects. So life is really exciting right now. And I also serve on the board of PTC, the Vancouver Playwright Company, which serves for an emerging theater makers and writers in the Lower Mainland. And I'm just very happy to be here and to participate, to contribute right now, observe as a community member, and hopefully I can engage in the conversation when in the future if I'm formally accepted. So that's all. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Faye. Appreciate that a lot. As you saw when you were talking, our other committee members joined us. Jamie Schaefer, who I think you have met, yes? Camera is right up there.
Right there.
Yeah.
I think he sees me. Look up.
Oh, this way.
I did.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Faye. I endorse you.
And last but not least, other member, community member to my right, Judy Geddes, I think
Hi, Faye.
you probably are familiar with as well.
Yeah, we were on the first board together.
Council. Jesus, I'm really messing everything up. I gotta get everybody, so I need a list. Trying to keep everything straight.
Close enough.
Doing a great
Close
job.
enough? No, hardly. That is a misstep. Valued council member. Okay. That covers welcome and address. I think there's probably no questions coming out of that. We'll just do a quick approval of the agenda. Steph, I think you had a late item to add.
We have public art condition report, which is, you'll have a copy of that maybe at 5.2.
Did you catch, did Faye get any of these arguments or no? Because he's just observing at this point.
I can send you one now.
Hey, you're going to get a document just in a short sec here, our agenda, so you can follow along there. So that was just new business, late business 5.2 condition assessment report. So we'll just quickly go through that a little bit later. Okay. Move and approval. Adoption of the agenda. Everybody in favor? Yep. Unanimous there. Thank you very much. Appreciate you getting that together for us, stuff. And adoption of the minutes. Oh, that was from the previous. All in favor of adopting the minutes from the previous meeting that came through? Yep. Lovely. Okay. Public comments. Did anything come through that was not a person coming through the door? No. Okay. No public comments. Excellent. Okay, so moving on to 4.1, business arising from last meeting, open call for artist document. This was supplied. Oh, no.
So I've not printed.
You didn't print those
I just
out,
did the
yeah.
cover sheet.
Yep. Okay, that's no problem. Here, I'll tell you, has everybody had a
I
look
think
at
what
those?
you've,
Were those documents attached as examples?
Those were, yeah, those were just some those were
Yep.
elaborate, more elaborate than probably what we need, but it was, I think altogether they gave kind of a good overview of the sorts of things that we should be concentrating on. There's lots of, repeat important headings that, we'd want to make sure that we covered. So,
I can put something on screen if you'd like.
you know what, let's do that.
Okay.
Please, thank you. So, yeah, we don't need to look at the Can you put the, you want to do the draft for,
Not everyone understands what.
not everybody understands what that part is?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So do you want to do that first then and then do the open call after?
Switch items 4.1 and 5.1.
maybe, eh?
Sure.
Okay.
All right. So we're just gonna, Faye, we're just gonna move a couple things around before we get to the open call. In order for that to make sense, we're just going to have Jillian talk a little bit about the community center window design possible opportunity that we're gonna be discussing. Okay.
Okay. Then Steph has the control of the little
Yes.
presentation.
Yes.
So what this all is about is that, oh, sorry, wait a minute there, okay. In order to get occupancy of the new facility, Steph, if you could, sorry. Any window or door that is floor to ceiling requires some sort of markings on the glass. And these are just a few examples of other applications in other areas. So the image on the left has them at the top and the bottom. That's not required by code to have it in two locations, but it is required to be, it's essentially where most adults would see it. You know, so it has to be in that line of sight. There are very specific dimensions that are required for this, but there's a lot of windows, Stephanie. There's a lot of windows on the building that we'll look at after this slide where we can apply this work. So the idea was that, well, rather than sort of getting something off the shelf and putting it up there, let's get some, and put this out to the community to create digital art that we can then put on all these windows and doors. So entering into the building on each end are double doors with a vestibule. So those are sort of prime locations, but there's also other exterior windows and glazing inside. So the next slide is a diagram of the community center, and I have the plans with me here as well. We can look at some of these different locations where they are. So Steph, maybe I could take the mouse if that's okay.
Yeah.
Just in order to talk about it a little bit. And this actually in the back of the room, if anybody wants to grab that to use a little bit more, you might be able to see it better, but.
Step away from that. Just,
Get away.
yeah.
Okay. So coming up the front of the building, when you enter up this entryway, there's a lot of windows right in front of you. So it's a pretty prime location right there. But it is potentially looking into artwork. So we'd have to be selective about what we would put there. But then when you turn left to enter into the building, these are these double sets of glass doors, 2 sets of glass doors right there. Yeah. The same at the back of the building, there are double doors heading out to the exterior, right in the back, yeah. All along the side of the living room and the small multi-purpose room, it's all glass looking out into the courtyard space, right? So again, that's really prime location for artwork. There's a lot of glazing in the office section of the building. So there would be areas that it's not necessarily as visible to the public on a regular basis, but they will require markings of some sort. So I started thinking about this idea and how we could do something fun and talk to Scott. We thought, let's bring this to the committee and see what we think about this idea and how we can do this. So producing these markings is within contract of the project, which is both positive, well, both mostly positive, but it means that it is already within this fixed price contract. So it's covered by the contract. But it also means that we will have some limitations in precisely what we can produce with that. We can't get totally wild and crazy. And I just want to make sure that we understand that this is not the same as when we were talking about window applications to prevent bird strikes. This is not the same idea. I still think that's a really good idea, but I also feel like we need to spend some time in the building and actually have a purposeful monitoring program to see where birds are striking. So we apply that in the most relevant locations. So this is the idea of it. That's happy to chat out a little bit.
Speaking from some experience, my brother ran through a glass door as a kid. So, and it was awful. It was bad. So I would hate to see somebody go through a window not seeing it.
And you talked about it at a level for adult, like our eye, but I think there needs to be one for kids too. I think particularly in the small multi-purpose room, absolutely. That's where the toddlers will be in the mornings. Yeah, but I think even like looking out into the courtyard, some kid's gonna run and run right into that glass. Yep. Well,
I think you need to have it on both levels.
Sure. Yeah, we don't want anybody running into that, do we? No, I agree.
No.
And so this is a code thing for windows that are a certain height? Because they're not, doesn't look like in the drawing that they're actually floor to ceiling, but they're.
This is an earlier rendering, so there are a few changes to that. But
Okay.
most of the ones that I pointed out are floor to ceiling.
Okay.
Yeah.
The windows themselves.
The windows and doors, yeah. So all those windows from the living room and the small multipurpose room into the courtyard, yeah, those are definitely. And also from the fitness studio, the image shows a window, but it's actually, that was changed to double doors opening out into the courtyard, so those as well. Is another spot would be.
Did you figure out the budget?
I don't know precisely because, and we're not privy to that because it's within the full contract that it's not up to us to exactly what they allocated to what.
Does every window have to be the same?
No, not necessarily.
Because it'll just be digital, right? It'll be based on a file.
Yeah, I think there probably whoever the contracted supplier, there would probably be a limitation as to like how many variations they might accept. These would all be details and specifications that still have to be like, worked out and kind of delved into.
I'm just
Yeah,
thinking like if we've got a long expanse of windows, like almost telling a story from window to window to window. So
Oh, that would get way more complicated.
Okay.
Yeah, if we went to that level, I think we would, it probably would fall within budget or within the contract, if we had like a couple or three different sets. But I think if we were to try and do something as elaborate as that, then it would be more complicated and the installation would be more complicated.
Okay.
yeah, as we were discussing, Jillian and I was thinking that, a design that could be like repeated, that didn't look like it was repeated,
Oh, yeah.
like without any seams or something like that,
Yeah.
would be kind of helpful. And then, those could be applied as long as was needed, in the same orientation. But the other thing to consider, and that's not something we necessarily need to talk about for this part, but one thing is that the vinyl wasn't gonna last forever. So if we said, whatever designs, line bracket S were chosen, there's a possibility of like, say, 3 to 4 or 5 years later, we could put out another call for a new set, because the old ones are now, fading or deteriorating or whatever. So there's maybe an opportunity there for a repeat call.
They'd be installed inside though.
They are, that's
They'll
true.
last longer than being.
They would, absolutely, yeah, but they're gonna get handled, there's always, things going in and out. So I don't know, it was just a thought. Well, maybe another opportunity there. But yeah, all good points. Judy?
I really like the idea and I think it's an opportunity, and I think if we can figure out the specs in time in terms of both the number of windows and, how many of them are contiguous and how many are, two-dimensional, and put that out there so that, and possibly, what they're made of so that they can be replaced fairly easily without massive scraping or whatever. That would be, at this point, if we're talking about the idea and, whether or not the other item that was on the agenda about, how we phrase the open call, is to be decided today, that's fine, and then figure out I don't know what the process is in terms of who figures out the specs, but.
I was speaking with one of the architects today, and so she's going to talk to the contractor and If they've already selected a vendor and then are under agreement with a specific vendor, we'll find out some of that information pretty quickly. And including, for example, what color options do we have within that? So we'll get that fairly soon. I think we said that, within a week, hopefully, to get
Oh,
that
wow.
information. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be doable time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do we have to do any of the technical stuff in terms of figuring out the specifications? What we want?
I think
If it's gonna be a call?
we'll find out precisely in what format we need to receive it so that we can hand it off to those who are doing the final stages of getting it made.
What, 2 heights, 2 eye levels?
I think it's important.
Short people and
Kids
tall.
learn language.
Or a broader bandwidth of 1 or whatever.
I would, yeah, but then you ruin the view, that beautiful sort of looking out.
Yeah.
Can we combine the bird strike imagery and this, like you just do one thing?
I think the time constraints don't allow for that because this needs to be figured out and on the windows for occupancy.
For occupancy, whereas
So-
the bird strike stuff doesn't.
Yeah,
That can
and the
be-
bird strike, and it really, sometimes the birds really don't hit where you anticipate. So spending that year surveying and monitoring where they do strike can be valuable. Yeah.
What's the timeline? I mean, when are you aiming for occupancy and then work backwards from installation?
Yeah. It's not absolute at this time because there are some fluctuations in some elements of the schedule, but I've been advised that if we could have this by December, that we're providing it to the architects then.
Okay.
There's process, right? It has to go to the architect, it has to, all the shop drawings need to be reviewed, there's all these stages of process before we can get it done. If it was just us going and printing.
We have a process too, though. We have to,
Right.
in the documents we prepared, it's like an initial stage where we look at all the submissions and when we go back to the RS and say, hey, can you readjust this to match this? So we've got a bit of back and forth to do too.
Right. Well, and hopefully it can work.
Maybe a call out? Is this a call out?
This would be a quick open call, so it's not gonna be as, complicated as the lockbox wall, the gateway
Right.
was. And we're not convening a jury. We wouldn't convene a jury. We'd actually just make a closed meeting, deal with it. Just because of the constraints of the timeline,
Yeah.
PAAC would just take this on
Right.
as a decision-making job and do it that way.
And the call out would have to be very specific and diameters and.
Yeah, that's what's kind of neat about this because there are already so many inherent constraints with what we have in terms of the budget and what we have in terms of what designs can get applied and color schemes and all that sort of thing. It actually kind of helps because we can say, this is it.
Yeah.
It's got to fit within these. If it doesn't, we can't accept it.
And we won't know the budget until when?
We won't know the budget. We're not,
How do we do that? Like we could.
because we're not generating it, right? We need to know the parameters and the specifications and produce that.
So, but if we're gonna pay the artist, we have to pay for the product and we have to pay for.
No, we don't have to
No.
pay for the product. That's
That's
what's
what
so
we're saying.
cool. Yeah, no installation.
But I mean, we only have this much in the budget to spend on this project. Is that correct?
The design, production, and installation of this is within the scope of the project now.
Sure, but we don't know what that.
But we don't need
We
to know.
don't need to, yeah.
Don't we? Or
No,
what
because if we,
What if
We're
we?
not, because we're not doing that. We're not.
We're not spending anything?
just the artist
No,
fee.
I get that, but we've gotta have a parameter of what we can.
No, it doesn't matter because it's already built in. We just, as long as we give them an idea.
The architect is gonna talk to the contractor who's already, may or may not have a contract with a printer. So we might be able to get some idea from the printer.
Exactly,
In
exactly.
terms and there's the limit.
And that's where we're gonna find out,
Paying the artist.
Definitely.
that's separate, that we have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's within the Public Art Advisory Committee budget would be paying the artist. Yeah. But what we need to find out from the contractor, and if they've already got a vendor, is it an agreement that it is one image that will be replicated throughout? Or do we have the opportunity to provide two images or diversity of size of those images? So,
Right.
talking about potentially an upper and a lower band, I could see maybe we sort of say, hey, maybe that's where the difference is, and sort of more child-friendly along the bottom kind of thing. But, so I'm sorry I didn't come with that information. I just haven't got it yet.
It's all been a fast discussion,
Yeah.
so yeah, no,
We're just sort of at that idea phase, but hopefully we like to within the week.
I guess single or more multiple colors is another variable.
That's
right?
another one. I suspect it's single.
Yeah.
I suspect it's single, but we may have opportunity to say which color we want.
Right, so that would probably be answering that question about the vendor, whether that vendor has been contracted or not, would be critical, because if they haven't, then we can maybe ascertain what the budget allotment for that specific detail was. And if we say, well, if we double it and pay a little extra, we have there's more opportunity for something interesting.
From PAAC.
From PAAC.
From our budget.
Yes, yeah.
So I'll dig into that as best I can, but with this type of contracts, there's absolutely no requirement for them to divulge that information.
No, fair enough, yeah. Although Judy said it, if we, based on what they give us for parameters, we could go to a print shop that does that kind of thing, say what we can charge. And then we can kind of, all right, figure it out. Judy.
I think you have to be careful as the architect, to ask the contractor to sort out whether or not, if we do make a contribution, right? So that if we want to double it, or we wanted two colors, or we want to have bigger, whatever, that doesn't completely screw up everything. We don't want change orders,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
Avoiding change orders at all costs.
I mean, maybe we would decide, okay, we want to add more and we source that. If we wanted to, if the contract is for
Yeah, but if
that.
we're taking it out of the contract too, that's a change.
And it's not necessarily in our best interest to do that.
So we might just have to work within tight parameters and say,
Right.
it is one color, it is a linear
We'll have
design.
to change the little butterflies sometime later.
Yeah.
Right.
There'll be other opportunities. I just love the fact that hey, here's the thing that's already gonna happen. Can we just touch it a little bit as the Bowen PAAC and maybe make it a little bit better for the community, and another opportunity to do a call. So, thank you.
What can we offer the artist?
What can we offer the artist?
Do we know that? Do we know what we can?
For amount?
That's our decision to be made.
That's our decision to be made. We can talk about that in the next thing. When we look at the draft open calls, do you want to do that next? Or are you?
No, you do it. Scott generated this.
Do you want a motion or anything with respect to going ahead with the?
Oh, that's a good idea. So we can bring it to the steering committee too.
So I recommend that the Public Art Committee suggest to the Community Center Joint Steering Committee, Select Steering Committee, agree that we continue to examine and how do you want to word this? The Community Center window design.
Investigate possibilities.
Yes, okay, that sounds, thank you.
Investigate.
Second.
Is that a normal
Regarding-
process, this committee?
No, that's good.
It's not, you heard me gasp. It's not normal, but it does happen. And it's okay, I think. With a committee that has the mayor and the CAO on it. We don't really want to be making side deals with parks and trails or anything, but I think with this committee, yeah. Otherwise, we'd go to council and they would refer it back, but community center, it should be fine.
Okay. Is there a
Provide the,
what do we call this window treatment to keep it separate from the bird strike? Is there a phrase that you're using?
They're just calling it glass markings.
Glass markings? Okay.
Maybe safety.
Safety, glass safety markings. Let's call it glass safety markings.
And as I said, if anybody wants to see exactly which are all the windows and doors, that's on here.
safety markings.
Glass safety markings, yeah. Just so we keep that
I have different words. Can I read what I have?
Yeah, please.
That the PAC recommend to the Community Center Steering Committee that we continue to investigate possibilities regarding opportunities to involve community artists in the contractual obligation to install safety markings on floor-to-ceiling windows in the community center.
And doors.
I guess we can't really, I'm just thinking that, this is a pretty broad call.
Oh, let's, hang on, let's just make sure we've got this covered and then we'll.
That's next.
That's next.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Sorry, ahead of myself. Recommend that the steering committee support, endorse, endorse. So
Make it
maybe,
official.
maybe they can
Endorse.
endorse. I have fixed this grammar later. Continue to investigate possibilities regarding opportunities to involve community artists in the contractual obligations to install safety markings on floor-to-ceiling windows and doors in the community center building.
Yep. There you go.
She's looking at me.
Seconder? All right, Mary Lynn jumps in.
Right, actually, Councillor
All in
Getty
favor?
moved it, I think.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Thanks, Steph. I'll never do it. Okay. Thank you, Jillian. That's actually kind of exciting. We will move on to 5.1.
Did you want to ask a question about the call?
Well, oh, don't we want to move to that
Okay,
first?
sorry,
Yeah.
okay.
We'll move,
Right.
move on to 5.1, which is the open call document, which has just been passed around. Everybody's having a look at it now. Jamie, you got a question?
Oh, just,
Or a comment?
it's pretty broad.
Yes.
Because they could get really elaborate with the cutouts, of a strip. I think it has to be, I think there needs to be a little more direction.
Oh, I absolutely agree. This was just a draft. And it's,
Yeah.
I just threw this out real quick together, just based on Jillian and I's conversation. That's where we have to get all those parameters from the supplier will then be very clearly laid out as to like, here's what you can do and
Right.
don't even think of anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Well, the format of this, I guess, is it won't be a paper thing. It'll probably be in email or posts, et cetera.
I think it would probably go on the BIM website and be a
Yeah.
promote, like sent out through there, yeah.
Can we stick in some examples of other people's safety glass markings?
Okay. Yeah.
And I, ones other than the strip. Although
I mean,
strip would be-
they're usually strips,
So, yeah,
but
they
even
have
if we
to
just
be.
show strips, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, like that the one image that you had, Jillian, of just the strip.
I know, it's not very exciting, that's why we want
No.
to do this. Yeah.
I don't know what the budget is, so I don't know, not budget, I just don't know how much there is to spend on this. It may only result in a strip as opposed to something that's more elaborate.
It's very likely to be a strip, yes.
Yeah.
Can I give an action for everybody to send ideas that they might stumble upon that we can possibly include in communications? Okay.
More homework.
Fun homework.
We want to, we'll do this. We gotta get on it.
This is like one step up from off the shelf, right? Whatever is the easiest, the most available thing that's on the shelf. We're just trying to put a little gloss on it so that it's more Bowen Island without, radically increasing the budget. And, if it's a 5-year lifespan, then we can start thinking about, much better things for that space.
Maybe the bird stripe might take, if there's a bird stripe image, maybe that eventually becomes that safety.
Absolutely, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of things that we could do, down the road, for sure, once we see how this sits. Yeah. I think that's what makes it kind of a cool opportunity. We can repeat, we can change, we can do whatever down the road. And I don't think ultimately that the cost is so prohibitive that we can't take, like if we decide, no, we want to scrap everything that's on there and redo the whole thing, we could actually find the budget to do that just within
Right,
ourselves,
or we
right?
might say, oh, this bank of windows.
Yeah,
on-
totally. Yeah.
So for this to be a requisite for occupancy, then there's a line somewhere in the Canadian Building Code or the Canadians with Disabilities Act or something that is technically defined where this needs to be. I don't know if we want to put that into this brief call out or that's something we look at to make sure it complies. But that's one of the requirements, that it does meet the occupancy requirement. So we could put the technical information in this
Yeah.
or not.
Particularly if it's regarding accessibility, I think that's great to include that.
Okay.
And I would make sure that this goes through the architect before we put it out to make
Yeah.
sure that we're.
Right, yeah, totally.
Was that called the people with disabilities?
Canadians with disability.
Personally, I prefer that we don't spend any of our budget on this project. We have like the outdoor art piece on the community center to think about. And I would really like it if we don't spend that money.
Yeah, definitely. I think if we can arrange this and choose a design that isn't going to increase our cost that way, other than the artist fee itself, which may.
Is that our responsibility from the
It
public
is.
art?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Oh,
It is.
so that $1,000 will come out of our budget.
It would,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But see, I just threw that out there. That's, if we can decide
Sure.
how much. And the other thing is too, we want to consider like, that's per artist or artist group if that's submitted something. But depending, like what Julian was saying, there's two sort of distinct areas in the community center. We might want to choose two artists. One artist doing the exterior bits and then another artist to do the interior bits by the council chambers and stuff. That's where that second part is, eh?
And the offices,
The offices.
it's the walls of the
Walls
offices,
of the
it's all
offices,
glazing.
yeah. So that would, we'd want to consider like if we're choosing one or two, that's going to affect things. So what would that artist fee amount be? Yeah. So we can talk about that right now, in fact. Like what seems like a fair amount, assuming the possibility that we could have to pay 2 times the amount. Yeah.
I just hesitate on spending too much of our budget because we have other projects that we'd like to do.
You, for sure.
This is not a temporary fix, but it is somewhat of a temporary project.
If we choose it to be temporary,
Sorry?
if we choose it to be temporary, it's temporary. I would imagine the lifespan of the vinyl is more than 5 years, really.
Could be, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think that they're obliged to make it 25 when they build the building, right? That's the lifespan of buildings now. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I think this one's more than that too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because of its use.
Yeah.
All right. Points noted. Anyone else have any thoughts on fees or
My initial impulse was to offer more,
offer more?
just reading this. I mean, if we do multiple, like 2 or 3 designs, then we're starting to push it. But, yeah.
What is the budget?
Can I read what is controversial?
What
Oh,
is
our
our
committee budget.
budget? We have,
We have our hand?
We receive 10,000 a year that goes into the pot. We didn't use any of that last year, or this year, so.
so is
There
it
was
30
some-
or something now?
Sorry, I was supposed to dig that up.
That was one of your actions.
Yeah, sorry. I
was looking for the local, didn't you?
I didn't hustle it.
We hustled it,
If
so I
somebody
think
offered it, I just said yes.
we have a bit of money left over. I wonder if I could search it out. Do you know what it's called? Public Art Reserve. You guys talk, I'll see if I can get back into the mainframe here.
And if we're thinking that, it's probably the most simple design, like, and sizing of it would be something like 4 inches by the width of a window or a door, or 3 feet. So, because the idea that it could be replicated, but also, there are side lights and panels that are actually shorter than, or narrower than that as well, right? So it'd have to be an image that can actually be cut
Right.
and still be.
That's why
made
that
sense.
repeating
Yeah.
motif was something I thought might be
Right.
important to
So,
talk about, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we decide, we make it the size of the narrowest window and then it's just replicated.
Often they're just like little dots and you can have 6 dots on a the big window and
Yeah.
12, or 12 on an even bigger window, right? So that way, that's the way it expands, usually, I think.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I thought, I threw 1,000 out there just because it seemed generous to me, but just based on what we were asking, which wasn't, it might be a very, very simple thing.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a very
It shouldn't be
kind
that
of simple
complicated.
graphic design.
Yeah, it's not gonna be like, so, it's
Yeah, I
not
think
gonna be
It
super
appeals
colorful.
to me because
Yeah.
like teenagers could do it. Like I think it's,
Yeah,
Can I play as devil's advocate
yeah,
for a
please.
second? Why does this group have to pay for that? Why is it coming out of our budget? Why is it not just part of the budget that's been set?
because it wasn't a specific artist designing it.
Right.
It's just sort of an off the shelf piece.
Right, so if we go back and skip the call out and just do a strip. Because that's already in the budget, right? That,
Then we don't have a project this
And
year.
then we don't,
sorry?
Then we don't have a project
we
this
don't
year.
define
No,
it.
but we have a big project, we want to put a piece of art on the community center.
Well, that's not happening for opening though. We haven't actually identified anything about
Well, I
that.
know, but if we start spending our budget, then
But if we have 30,000 in the coffers,
well,
let's
I don't
say.
know.
This camera's up, I'm seeing 37,000. But I'm just texting our CFO to see if that's correct, so.
Yeah,
Just shooting darts here.
I think it is.
But it's, we haven't, the big project was Sangre de Fruta, Snapple
yeah,
helped us with that. And we've been getting this 10 grand every year, so.
so, okay. I thought that there at one point said if we weren't spending it, we weren't getting it.
No, that's the operations piece, which is 2,500 a year, I think.
You know, we can, you know,
Not operations,
request
like
funding for
maintenance.
maintenance and.
That won't carry over, but the reserve is meant to collect money for over years.
So, yeah, I
Okay.
think we're fine. I think
That's fine.
1,000 seems high to me though, like for something like a simple graphic design, I would think like maybe 750. That's my gut.
Okay. So we're looking at, what were you gonna think? 15?
Yeah, 15, but I mean, it's a really good point that Jamie made, is that if we like 3 and we think 3 is nice, because it'd be nice to have different designs in the building, that's cool, but then that just triples the
Yeah.
fees, right? So
Yeah.
we have to keep that in mind, I guess, if we decide we like 3
Yeah.
or 2.
Do
Judy?
we own the art on the panels?
Do we own the, well, we own the panels, but we do not own the copyright of the artwork. I'm pretty sure copyright wasn't transferred over.
No, the artists own that.
So that's by default, and that is right to copy essentially. So yeah, we can't use any of that for any other purpose. In fact, this is almost like,
Unless they're on.
yeah, I don't know how that happened, but I guess obviously they were okay with it.
Well, they were selling those.
Oh,
Just those. They didn't print anymore, or they haven't done cards. They
Those are
haven't,
canvases though.
yeah,
They didn't.
but they
yeah.
did a few, but that's it.
Yeah, just prints, flat prints, not canvases.
But those digital images exist.
yes.
They do, but we have to ask permission from the
Yeah.
artist to use any of it. Yes.
So if all those fails, then there is potentially long, narrow bands of art that everybody likes.
That would be very expensive. There's even for colorful vinyl, there's only so much range of different colors that can be reproduced on that stuff. And unless I'm wrong, you're
No,
more
you're
of
right,
a,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so anyway, that's something we can still continue to think about, honestly, as we get more specific information coming through. But yeah, it's definitely, obviously a consideration we want to be careful with, and not overstep. But I also like the idea of making it appealing. We'll get, generate, hopefully really good responses out of it if the money's there, because I know like if it's not, people are like, I don't bother, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. And the difference, I guess, between 750 and 1,000 for us, considering what we're trying to do, maybe not, is gonna kill us one way or another. Yeah. Anyway, any other things to bring up, or can we move on from?
What is the action associated with this?
The action associated with this.
Subcommittee to finalize this, or?
There's a lot of details.
A lot of details, yeah.
We need another version of it.
Yeah, So why don't I propose this? As Jillian gets more specific information coming in, I'll try and incorporate that into this draft with also some other examples, as Phil's suggestion of graphic ideas so that people get an idea, oh yeah, that's what you're talking about. And this image, I just like quickly yanked that. But there may be a better image that Jillian might be able to help generate that sort of makes it clear what we're asking for. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'll find another one and, yeah.
And then what I'll do is I'll quickly just redraft. I will send it all back out to everybody for review, but not in any kind of meeting situation. And then we might want to, at that point, we can consider if we want to, depending on the timing, if we want to convene a special meeting just to hammer this thing out, solidify it, and get it off to the architect for review.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
I think we put a date for a site visit on there as well, so potential people contributing to come and see where it would be.
Okay.
Put a draft somewhere all over this as well,
Watermarks, I'm not even gonna publish it, I
or
don't,
something at the bottom.
I don't think we should publish
we
this
don't want
yet.
to publish, so.
I know, but it now exists and it's floating around, so we could just.
Everybody write draft.
Just to be clear, I don't have access to this file, so I'm gonna transfer that over to draft watermark on there.
And I'll put one on, it's my
Oh,
word
it's
doc.
yours.
It's my word
Okay.
doc, so I'll put the draft for sure.
Thank you.
Next time. I should have done that. I should have done better. Yeah.
Would you have a site visit for everybody who's interested?
I don't know if I like that idea. It's a lot to coordinate, but.
Or the first, 10 people that sign up and express an interest.
Yeah, or you could do a video. Like just shoot something with your phone and it gets posted with it, like here we are in the space, these are the windows.
Yeah,
Theme of the day.
walking up to these doors, these need them.
Yeah, a video of someone.
Looking down the hallway, there's a dorm window.
Show the video of my brother going through the
Oh,
glass plate door, yeah.
I was thinking of it sort of as an incentive to submit, but maybe
Oh,
it
right,
doesn't
okay.
need that. Maybe there'll be a lot of people incentivized on their own, but.
Yeah, I love the idea. Like, I want to go see the building too, but, I'm reluctant to add a layer of complication to a thing that we're trying to keep so simple.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, no site visit for you.
We can still do the same.
We can, sure, yeah, then it's not, because if we do that, then we have to make the date and then, then the clearing it all up and getting it done is contingent on this other thing.
You're right.
Yeah. Okay. We could put a deadline on that, on the draft.
Sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, part of it is contingent on how soon we can get this information.
okay.
But let's say, within 2 weeks, can we,
Okay.
do you think that's
I think
enough?
that's doable.
Like for you to get the information?
October
I'll
19th.
redraft. Okay,
So you need from us some ideas,
I think that's
examples
great.
that we've seen or?
If you want images included for the communications.
yeah, if you,
Bring on
yeah,
the
if you've seen
images.
some
Yeah.
examples of similar things that you'd like, oh, this would be really cool, just send it over and I'll just like throw them in. Yeah,
What about Phil?
And that deadline is
That link to the,
the legislation, the
Yeah, I
building
can-
code.
I can find that if you want.
Thank you, Phil.
And that, I rely on the architects to do
Yeah,
their due
they'll probably
diligence
have all
there,
that
so, yeah.
yeah, right. Okay,
And make sure with the images that you select about examples that they're not massively complicated and outside of our scope. Because that's not encouraging necessarily.
right,
Yeah.
might confuse things.
Just kidding.
Okay. We can move on from 5.1 or any last bits? Are we good? Everybody's covered? Okay, 5.2, condition assessment report. This was on my homework task list from the last meeting and probably meetings before that, but I finally threw a bit of a document together. Everyone's got a copy, right? So we don't need to spend a ton of time on it. I thought this would be helpful. When we all get around to kind of doing a round of visits to whatever does exist out there in our registry, or whatever we're calling that. Inventory, thank you, that, this would be a good thing to start filling in if we could, because what would be really great is to have this document exist in maybe an Excel format or something like that, so that if we were to be able to plug this information in, it would automatically populate the registry stuff, the inventory, and keep that stuff up to date. Because, as we've gone through that inventory, we're noticing a lot of missing information and a lot of question marks as to ownership and things like that, which, eventually, none of that is a fire priority, but, it's stuff that we do want to try and deal with. So the easier we can make that, the better. So anyway, this is also a draft. I guess I should have written draft on there too, but less problematic if somebody actually sees this. So if anybody has any recommendations or suggestions about other things that you might think should be covered, I welcome those, and then we can kind of finalize this document in the next meeting or something, and we'll have something to actually go out into the field with to start filling in.
Great.
And this is based on that list that we created of existing pieces of art on the island?
Yeah, the inventory.
The inventory is, yes. Yeah, that's right. This is, I think, I drafted this to support the filling in of the blanks of the inventory. Yeah.
Because you created a pretty nice spreadsheet.
We're trying to avoid this conversation. I created a very ugly spreadsheet that has the information, and it's terrible.
And the
images, yeah. But there was the, is anyone familiar with the Heritage Registry? It sort of has like a page per piece. Yeah, so there'll be a photo and then it'll have the specs, maybe even is it 2 pages on the Heritage Registry? So I think that Excel spreadsheet is a quick and easy inventory. Spending a lot of time graphic designing an Excel spreadsheet feels wrong. Maybe there's technology out there like some kind of software that you could do an inventory with. I don't know. Maybe just the Word document like the registry. I think it's a next step conversation as far as how you guys want to manage and publish that information.
I think a page per art piece.
A page per, and just have the Excel sheet.
Gives you a little more room to write stuff, because some of those pieces has a lot of history.
And they're pretty.
Right? And you want to make sure that we capture that and have that. And some are pretty simple.
Yes.
But we fill this in for each piece. Yeah.
Okay, so the idea is to take the Excel spreadsheet.
But I see them quite different though. It really was an inventory with the location and the ownership. It wasn't about the condition, right?
Oh, there's just one of the columns. I can get it out.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they're documents that support one another, but it's not included into the two.
Yeah, it depends on, we come up with this question all the time. It's like the registry, keep saying registry, that's the term we use rather than inventory, but we have this inventory.
Sorry.
No, that's totally fine. Inventory works. The question of why, what does the inventory do? What's the purpose of the inventory? So there's kind of two levels usually to those things. And one is like an internal level of inventory that would be for us as the committee, the public art committee, where you would have, the inventory there would be information accessible through that deeper inventory version that would contain, for instance, a condition report or, signed ownership documents or something like that, so that, all of that stuff is sort of housed in the same area. We're not like searching for it everywhere else. Whereas there would be a more public facing version, which is very simplified. So that would be what you're talking about, like, the artist, the title, the year, some pictures, and, didactic panel text or whatever it was, materials that would help guide a viewer to understand what it is they're looking at. But
and on this document, you can But we have to do a public version there in the spreadsheet.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
Tie the two together.
Yeah, so yeah, there'd probably be a way to do that. I don't know how, I'm not IT and I don't know how that stuff functions, so we might want to like bring some help in about that, but I think we have to, if there's anything I've understood is the more information you have going into a conversation like that, the better, so that people know what the scope of the job would be. Juliet.
Little one on the screen.
Oh.
See a curly little head. Andrew, what's his last name?
Todd on the island?
Yes.
Yes.
So can I run this by him? And he's a conservator, so he understands, when he goes up to a piece and he's doing an assessment and the kinds of things that he wants to know about it. And he might know about some software.
Oh, he might.
Know something that's open that we could get access to.
Yep. Absolutely.
I think it's funny because this condition column in here, it's like, good, fine, I don't know, rebuild, excellent, it's pretty.
4 categories here, that's right.
I think we'd be having conversations down the road then too, if there is the desire to purchase new software. That would be from this budget, from our PAAC budget, and who would house that? And would it be the municipality? Would it be the Hearth? Would it?
Yeah.
And who would maintain, who's gonna do all that work?
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Yeah, it sounds really got so much capability or potential functionality.
I don't think we need to get fancy.
We don't. No.
I don't know.
Maybe, yeah, I mean, it could exist in a pretty basic format for years, and it really doesn't matter. At this point, it's just like, thinking ahead about how we're gonna
Do we once a year go look at all the pieces and update this and say, ooh, it's getting really?
once a year is probably a lot. I think most municipalities would run they would attempt every 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so once we do this, then really, what are we doing with it? Once we complete these for all the pieces and that spreadsheet.
No, then it gets housed into the archive so that we would know the next time somebody goes out to do it, like has a whole bunch of things fallen apart in the interim or?
When was the last time?
You know right off the bat whether or not you've got something in poor or critical condition. Then there'd have to be a discussion about that.
Right.
And then, it'd be like, okay, so that one's okay now, but if there was some questions, let's,
It helps with word
Double check.
planning and.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a maintenance schedule in the planning policy appendices?
Maybe there's
Yeah,
one in there,
maintenance
yeah, there could be. A maintenance schedule. Yeah.
I'm just showing the heritage registry because we were just talking about it. So there's 10. What's the word? Not items, sites.
Location sites.
Sites. So there's a picture, there are the specs, little description. So yeah, 2 pages per, I guess.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's all one document.
Right.
Yeah, just a Word doc,
That works fine.
pretty little Word doc.
That would totally work for us.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, and then these can just be adjunct materials connected in the same folder or something. That's it. Steph can do that one.
Yeah, we need massive help from the planning department to pull that together.
Yeah, Amanda, I think. Was it Amanda working on this?
No, what was the woman's name? But,
Jennifer?
yep. So we might have to figure that out in terms of staff time. To get that kind
right.
of polish on a document.
Does it have to be staff or just a Word document? Does it have to be staff? Could we do maybe one public art piece per committee member? Settle into a Word document?
It could.
Like
Yeah,
that?
if we have a format already set up, then it just goes.
Set up a template?
Could be done.
Everyone gets an action item, one, you get to pick your favorite, what's their favorite piece?
Okay, I'm gonna call that discussion done, just because we're running out of time. We've got other stuff to deal with. But one thing I did want to note just about running this by Andrew Todd. Let's not do that right away because I'd like to address the other thing that we'll be talking about, and get some information over to him before we start asking him for papers?
Sure.
If that's okay. All right.
So what's your action item? Are we just looking this over and make sure that it's got everything that we?
Yeah, there was no action item on this, I don't think. It's like review it, and if you had any suggestions,
Okay,
send them forward.
I'll say
But,
that then too.
Yeah,
Action.
I mean,
send
and we
your
have a good one
suggestions.
with having an outside person with lots of experience in the field, having a look at it too. So, again, Andrew's been very fastidious about things like that, like condition reports, which may be way beyond what we need for our committees. Questions period,
Nope, nobody.
nothing, and so the next meeting, we'll figure that out after, right? Okay, so I'm just gonna move to an adjournment then.